Recording of Nectar and a Sieve by Kamala Markandaya. Part 2, Chapter 25. As always, Nathan stirred with the first light. When he saw I was awake, he sat up quickly, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. "You slept well," I said, a little envious because I had not, yet glad since he looked so much better for it. "Yes, I was tired, but you look as if you had been up all night." "Almost. I could not sleep." "You were worried, no doubt," he said gravely, and the concern in his voice made me slightly ashamed of myself. "Still, we shall soon be with our son, and you will be able to rest. Come, we may as well start now. The sooner the better." We went to wash at the tap, threading our way among the heaps of rags under which men and women lay huddled in sleep, their crutches or staffs and begging bowls beside them. And when we had done, we went out of the way and we had come in. Early though it was, many of the shops were open. From the food stalls came the spluttering of ghee and oil as bread and pancakes were fried, ready for the early worshippers who would soon be coming. As we passed, Nathan hesitated, and I saw him eyeing the crisp golden pancakes laid out upon a platter. "Let us buy a few," he said cheerfully. "I am hungry enough, and you must be too." I, for my part, hesitated. Although the food was tempting enough, for the silver coins we had were few and precious, and there was no telling what our needs might be. Still, I could not very well deny him when I had already made up my mind to spend some of the money on cooking vessels, and so I put my hand in my waistband to take out the money I had tied there. The coins were gone. I felt in my bodice, and again in my waistband. I shook out the folds of my sari, but there was no doubt the money was gone. "It may have slipped out in the night," Nathan said, and we went back, unhopeful, to where we had slept, but the ground was bare and innocent. And those who saw us entering again laughed and said free meals were only given in the evening, not in the morning, their laughter changing to concern when we explained what had befallen us, but their concern was only perfunctory, since they were all lookers on, and not partakers. And I noticed one or two glances exchanged, pitying yet scornful, which said as plainly as words, "These are simple, careless country folk, lost and bewildered." Though I could contain myself no longer, and I said sharply that there was too little care, but too many thieves, and saw them nodding in facile agreement. Yet, yes, thieves and pickpocketers were very skillful. One needed to exercise the utmost care. Well, we had not. And so we went on our way with nothing to call our own, save what we wore, past the food stall and with steadfast face, past the bazaar with never a glance, pressing on to reach the shelter of our son's home before worse should overtake us. Through the streets of the terrifying city, amid the unaccustomed traffic and crowds, screwing up our courage each time we asked our way, we slowly went along. Some we questioned would not stop to answer. Others did not know. Many, in trying to be helpful, directed us wrongly. Without exception, they were confusing, or we were dull. There were so many turnings we were to take, so many not to, that by the time we had followed the instruction to about the third turning, we were completely lost and had to stop and ask again. "I am a little slow," Nathan said humbly. "They speak so fast I can hardly follow, and I cannot remember all they say." "If you are, so am I," said stoutly, for I also find it difficult. It being near midday, we sat down to rest by the roadside. A dozen or more children were playing there, dodging in and out of out of the traffic with a skill and indifference which I could not help admiring. For their play looked as if they had never eaten a meal in their lives, with their ribs thrust out and bellies full-blown like drums with wind and emptiness. And they were also extremely dirty with the dust of the roadside and the filth deposited upon it. And the running sores many of them had upon their bodies were clogged with mud where blood and pus were exuded. But they themselves were forgetful of their pains, or patient with them as the bullock had been, and played naked and merry in the sun. Merry, that is, until a crust of bread fell on the road, or a sweetmeat toppled from an over-ambitious pyramid, when, all childishness lost, all play forgotten, they fought ferociously in the dust for the food. My children had fought thus too. I remembered, but time had mellowed the memory or dimmed it, for it did not seem to me that they had struggled like these, teeth bared, nails clawing, ready, predatory like animals. But when a man of wealth passed, they were as tender and pitiful as fledglings, beseeching with soft open mouths and limpid eyes, their begging bowls meekly held before them, and altogether changed with an artfulness which surely my children had not at their command. And however much they played and were children, still their faces were scored with the knowledge and cares that children should not have. Their eyes were knowing and guileful beyond their years. "We may yet be forced to that," said Nathan, pointing to their begging bowls, if we do not find our son." "Never," I protested, a little frightened by his dejection. "Come, we must be on our way." Let us ask these children," he said. "They seem quick." He clicked his fingers and called, and they came with bright, curious eyes, twittering like sparrows. "Tell me, my son, do you know where Coyle Street is?" "Coyle Street? There are 3 or 4. Which one do you seek?" "3 or 4!" exclaimed Nathan. "No wonder we have been chasing our tails." "If you tell me the names of the people," the boy said, "there are few I do not know." "That I can well believe. We are looking for my son, whose name is Murujan. He works with one Birla, who is a doctor." "I do not know of Murujan," the boy said frankly. "But everyone knows Birla. For a small sum," he added, "I will take you there myself." "I have less than you," Nathan sighed. "I can give you nothing." "Oh," the boy said, disappointed, his voice falling away. Then an idea seemed to strike him, and he said shrewdly, Yet I will myself take you there, and if you prosper, you can pay me. And how shall I know you?" "I am called Puli, after the king of animals, and I am leader of our pack. I am as well known as Birla." "Then I shall know where to find you," Nathan said, smiling, for there was an impudence in the boy which was somehow attractive. "Lead on, my young friend." The boy turned and said something to his companions, and there was no doubt that he was their leader, for they dispersed at once. Then he beckoned to us. "Follow closely," he said firmly. "This child, who might easily have been our grandson, or you will be lost." And he motioned us forward. And as he did so, I saw that he had no fingers, but only stumps. The disease which was rotting his body had eaten away nail and flesh to the first knuckle. Prudently, we took his advice to follow closely, although he went at a pace which we found difficult to match, and presently he brought us to a small, whitewashed house set in a street on the corner of which stood a church. "This is the street, this is the church, this is the house," he said, rapidly pointing, and at once turned and made off, his head down and shoulders moving as he ran. We stood and looked at the house, arrived but uncertain how to proceed, and it looked back at us, neither inviting nor forbidding. There was a wooden paling around it, broken by a small wooden gate, and at length, there being nobody in sight to ask, we walked through to the garden, and so to the house. The doors and windows were in it were wide open, as if the occupants needed all the fresh air there was, and we could see right to the back of the house, where 2 or 3 men were sitting, wearing the white tunics of servants, and one of them at length saw us and came forward, saying mechanically, as if he had used the same words many times before, "Beggars are not allowed here, only those who need." Then, seeing we neither carried begging bowls nor held out our hands for alms, he stopped short. What have you come for?" "Our son works here," Nathan said. "His name is Merjan." "Merjan? No one of that name works here." "Doesn't work here? Are you sure?" "Of course I am sure. There are only 3 servants employed, and Merjan is not one of them." There must be some mistake," Nathan muttered. He pulled out the slip of paper on which the address was written and handed it to the man, looking anxiously at him as he read, or perhaps pretended to read, for he handed it back quickly, saying, Yes, no doubt it was written there, but you must take my word, he is not here now." Why did we not write? I thought miserably. We should have written, but we had been so sure he would be here. We had relied on it. It had never struck us that he would leave without telling us. Just then we heard a car driving up, and from it stepped a figure wearing a shirt and trousers, carrying a small black bag. "The doctor is here," the manservant said hurriedly. "You must go now." But we had come too far, hoped too high, endured too much, to turn back now. "I will stay and ask him," Nathan said stubbornly. "Maybe he will know." And he stood firmly. The doctor, meanwhile, was approaching. Under the thin shirt I saw the figure of a woman, and I whispered hastily to my husband, "Be careful. It is a woman." Nathan turned bewildered eyes on me. "The trousers," he began. But there was no time to say more, and he stopped short, confused and stammering. "Who are you? What do you want?" A woman's voice, unmistakably. "Our son came here to work some years ago," I said. "We have come to seek shelter with him." "His name?" "Murugan." "Oh yes, he came through Kennington, did he not?" "Yes," I said eagerly. "Kenny gave him the recommendation. He has been very good to me and mine." "How is he?" she asked, forgetting we thirst for news. "I have not seen him for a very long time." "Well," I said, "and happy since he is building this new hospital. My son works for him." She looked at me thoughtfully, and I could see she wanted to know more about the hospital, but she only said, "Of course, you are anxious about your son. I am afraid I cannot help you. He left here nearly 2 years ago." "Left? 2 years ago? Where could he go? Why go with no word to us?" We stood mute and miserable. At last I felt I must know. "Has anything happened? I mean, had he done some wrong?" "No, nothing like that. He was a very good servant, and he went after higher wages." Well, I thought, this at least is better hearing, and I licked my dry lips and said, "If you would tell us where he went, we must go to him. There is no one else." "I am not sure," she said, with a hint of pity in her eyes. "But I have heard that he works for the collector. He lives on Chamudi Hill, she added. "Anyone will show you the house. It is big enough." We were at the gate when she came after us. "You look faint. Have you not eaten?" "We were fed at the temple," I said, not meeting those shrewd eyes. "It is a long time since," she said. "You had better have a meal before you go." She called to the servant and spoke to him rapidly, and he came, looking none too pleased, to lead us where we had to go. The servant's quarters lay behind the house and some distance away. They consisted of 3 go-downs standing in a row, square rooms with brick walls and stone floors, each with a separate low doorway. At the first one, the manservant, thus, stopped and beckoned us to enter. Inside, it was half dark, for there was only one window high up on the wall, and a thick blue smoke was rising from a corner where a young woman was busy cooking. "These people are here to eat with us," Das said. "They are the parents of one Murujan who was before me." The young woman rose and came to us cheerful and smiling, nursing a round, chubby baby. "You are more than welcome. You seem very tired." Her friendliness, her smile, were warming like the sun on her old limbs, gentle as the rain on parched earth. I felt the stiffness that had collected in me departing, felt a new upsurge of hope. Nathan was visibly relaxed. "The rice is nearly cooked," the young woman was saying. "Perhaps you would like to wash before we eat? The tap is outside. My husband will show you." Das was on his feet. "Ah, yes, I had forgotten. Certainly a wash will do you good." He sounded more friendly. We followed him out to the tap, which was about a furlong away. A cement floor had been built around the base of the tap, but the water which dripped constantly from the pipe ran off the cement, so that the ground for some distance around was wet and muddy with scores of footprints leading to and from it. Beyond it was a latrine. I had not used one before, and I entered with misgiving. There was no door, merely 4 walls built of tin which did not meet at one corner, thus leaving enough space for one person at a time. No roof. Along one side, a shallow trench from which rose a most foul stench. No covers, no kindly earth to hide what lay there open to the blue, offended skies. No water to wash it away. I went out and stepped through the mud to the clear running water, and when I had washed, I felt better. "You have to get used to these things," Nathan said. "This is how life is lived in the city." When we went back to the young woman, still with the child at her hip, was straining the rice. Besides the baby, there were now 3 other children in the room. "Oh yes," she said in reply to my question. "All mine, and you can always find my brats here at meal times. I do not see them the rest of the day." The children giggled delightedly, wriggling with pleasure. Their mother was peering into one of the pots on the fire, stirring and tasting. "Ready now," she said with satisfaction, wiping her streaming eyes with a corner of her sari. The smoke must have entered the baby's eyes too, for he began screaming. "Let me hold him," I said. "You will be able to work better." "It is a girl. She very seldom cries," she said, handing the baby to me, and as if to earn the compliment, it immediately quietened down. The young woman had several pieces of plantain leaf cut and ready. She laid these out and began serving the rice and dal, generous portions such as we ate at harvest times and 1 hours larger than theirs. "You are very kind to feed us so well," I said. "We are fed free," she replied. "The doctor is very good to us and gives us rice and dal. Today she sent extra for you." So we ate with easy conscience, for I would not like to have taken from the store of a family who were, for all their kindness, only strangers to us, and who, moreover, had enough mouths to feed of their own to feed. As evening wore on, the mother brought out a striped mat, for she had persuaded us to stay the night, on which to sleep. And sleep we did, the deep sleep of those who, being tired, have fed well and rested well. The next morning, early we departed, after thanking the doctor, who was a woman, and Dus and his wife, who had cared so well for us. And she came to see us go with her curious-eyed children about her, sunny and smiling as when we had first seen her, and to this day I see her as she was then, young and kind, with a warm smile ever ready on her lips.